Welcome, grand adventurers, back to Shoreshack Adventures. On the last episode, we were doing some things. Our party has made it back, dropping Siddle and Cecil off at the Black Stag Bar. The meeting with the king is in 2 days. What will happen in the meantime? What preparations will take place? These are the questions that we will answer from Xander's perspective on this week's episode of Shoreshack Adventures.
I will sharpen my axe on my enemy's face.
Hey, where's that gold at?
What are we doing here, man?
Jesus, Jehoshaphat! Where did this fucking hat come from?
It feels good to be back.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Make surfboards with my bunyip. I don't even care about the gold anymore.
No, we'll run that next time.
Aye, aye. Well, Xander, you find yourself in Ironton, just dropping your good friends Cecil and Siddle off at the bar.
Best friend.
The rest of your compatriots are moving about the town with their own ambitions, but you have some things that need tending to. As you walk across the town, it's early evening, late afternoon. What is it that you are doing?
Well, first thing he needs to do is he wants to go to the kennel and he wants to check on Conan. The armor should definitely be ready by now, and he wants to get him out of the kennel.
Aha! And without issue, you know where your beloved wolf is being kept. And you make your way to that part of town, dodging people that seem to have these new silks. You notice about the people of the street. They're talking up this silk and that silk and this silk and that silk. But you make your way through without issue and come to the barding establishment of whoever his name was who made the barding. You find your wolf, who gives a good "Roar," but more wolf-like when he sees you. He's chained into the outside of a courtyard area around a big tree. It seems quite friendly to the passerbyers, especially the young ladies, who give him lots of pets.
Oh, yes, he's always been a good boy.
Yeah. You almost see when he sees you getting a pet from a very attractive young lady, he almost gives you a wink.
So I will walk up to him and be like, be careful, man. I wouldn't want him to nip at your heels. I'm just kidding. He's a good boy. And I'll bend down and scratch his ears. He's been traveling with me for many a year.
Oh, he's yours.
Oh, yes. This is Conan.
And just
Not so
general
fierce,
girl.
but very lovable.
They giggle and do general girl things that I'm not too good at.
And nor would I want you to be. And he'll turn more of his attention to Conan because, he misses him. So
Yeah, and Conan jumps on you and like almost knocks you over. Hasn't seen you for a long time.
it's been a few days,
Yeah.
at least a full day.
And you had a conversation with him about, what your intentions were and that you back and all this stuff. So he understands the situation. Really happy to see you again. He is donning a fashionable studded leather outfit made for him, tailor-made for him. Fits well. Seems comfortable in it. Almost emboldens him in a way.
And to save time, and because it's approaching the end of the day, I'm going to go ahead and cast Speak with Animals so I can talk with him. And so then able to communicate. So how was everything? Were you taken care of?
Oh my gosh, this place is great. They do a lot of fitting. I've never been tailor-made for an outfit in such a way, but I think it looks pretty good. What do you think?
It looks fabulous. You look terrific. They didn't try it out though, did they? They didn't swing at you or hit you or anything.
Just with a club. And I gotta say, it's not too bad. I kind of play fought a little bit with the gentleman. He was happy.
He was winning. Great. Well, I am super happy that you have been well taken care of, because I would have hated to have had a bad experience here.
Yeah, these guys are good guys. I think his name is Joppel. Joppel Dexterius.
Well, now you've made it canon, so and I will fill him in on our two companions that were left at a bar.
Okay.
I want him to be aware of them and their sizes and their looks.
Okay.
And,
the intention that he can call them out if he sees them, type thing.
yes, or so that he also knows that if I have to do something, he knows which ones I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then I'm also going to inform him that I need to stash this loot and get one that looks really similar to it. And we need to go shopping.
All right. So from the studded leather, he gets 12 plus his dex modifier for his AC now.
12 plus his dex for his AC.
Bingo, bango. And we can set that up later.
That's his current AC. His AC is a 13 right now.
Cool. Looks like I set it up.
So he gets no benefit from the leather armor?
I think that is the benefit of the leather armor. Let me see. Let me find his character. What is his dex modifier?
Oh, he's a +2. I was looking at strength.
Okay, so he should have 14 then.
Yeah, so he'll be a 14. He'll have the same AC as me.
Cool. What a high AC it is.
With what?
I said, what a high AC it is. Okay. So he has that donned, the new fashionable wear. Now, how do you want to go about finding a new loot?
I have a couple things I need to do. First thing I want to do, besides doing the loot, is I want to go back to the healer that we went to before.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to check on myself, getting everything removed from the poison.
Ah, yes. So you make your way to the Temple of Celesti. and you would bring this up, and I don't have my sheet in front of me, but there is a lovely young lady that goes by the name of, we'll fill in later. And she is back. Hello, good Xander. I am the fashionably somewhat sexy lady named.
Mm-hmm.
And what can I do for you today, Xander? I heard of your previous visit when I was absent here.
Yes, we were searching for some healing. It appears we came across a gentleman who waylaid us with some form of poison that we were unfamiliar with.
Oh,
And although I seem to be a little resistant to it, it still eats at my system. I can feel it still inside me, and I would like to be rid of it.
well, Xander, let me give you a good looking. And then she, in a much sexier look than I could ever try to portray, gives you a good looking down and tickles you in the right places until she says, "Aha! Indeed, you are full of something that you'd like to get rid of." And then winks at you. And then says, "I have a spell that could do such a thing, but I'm only able to cast that once per day."
Well, we are almost at the end of the day. Have you cast it already?
She looks up into the sky, looking back at you. "I have prior commitments for my one spell. This is taken up by somebody else in this town.
Hmm.
And I owe them that spell every day in the predicament that they are in."
And without this spell to them, what would happen?
I do not believe I can speak of such things, but
I mean, I would hate to try to persuade you if it meant death for them.
this is of grave concern to Ironton itself. I can say that unless something is of the remedy, or I have the gentleman's permission, he is given this spell daily. You can, if you try to persuade, you can persuade maybe her to give you the name of the individual who she is casting this on.
Well, I'm sure this dwarf is of great importance in the town. And I'm sure he is by far more important than a little old bard like me. And I'm sure he's done numerous things of good for the community. Probably well more than I have with the few children that I have given coin to as I've gone along my way, and the bread that I bought for the poor. And it'll be fine. I'm sure there's no use in trying to help me. I'll manage. I'll be okay. I'm sure it'll pass.
Oh, I have some options for you. You must understand that King Irmar is long beyond his age, and is hanging in there until the right moments. But I can tell you. There's a potion I can craft you that will also do the same thing, though a one-time use, and it seems that a one-time use is all that you need.
That sounds wonderful. Even if you couldn't craft it, if you could tell me how to make it, perhaps I could make it myself.
Well, that comes down to a bit of a side quest, if you will. The
ingredients of this you do not have.
Indeed, and are rare to come across.
Of course they are.
All you need is the liver of a jiggrass.
I have no idea what that is, ma'am.
Well, it is a large humanoid type creature that fumbles around in the swamps out to the east of us. The bog, if you will.
In the marshlands, yes, we came through that.
Indeed. And if you didn't come across these, I'd say you were lucky. But if you're questing for one of these, they are large, full of twigs and such in their skin and in their hair. Their ability to heal themselves is quite remarkable, and hence why the components of such a potion is necessary.
Yes. I do see what you mean. So you say the king is sick?
More or less old, and wouldn't want anything to come fall upon his health. And as part of that, I have made a commitment to deliver him a heal spell once per day.
Well,
if it comes about that he is willing himself and his holiness and highness to sacrifice and not partake, I would be happy to give the spell to you, with the cost, of course. But until I heal otherwise, this spell goes to him. On the day.
and I believe that is a noble cause that you have undertaken, completely and totally. I do have, perhaps, what if I could provide a healing spell for one day and provide him with entertainment in his sorrow?
Well, good Xander, you can cast a 9th level heal?
Not even close. But maybe take the edge off and provide some entertainment.
Well, it sounds like you should speak to him about this matter.
Well, actually, in 2 days, I will be speaking to him.
Ah, well, the stars do align, don't they not?
But if I could speak with him earlier, that would be all the better.
Well, I am not much of a politician, more just a holy clergy member providing a service. I don't think it is within my scope of authority to introduce you to the king myself.
Then, laying that all aside, and you, of course, giving him his medicine as he sees fit, could I perhaps go with you this evening and you give him the opportunity for me to play for him? For nothing. But the opportunity to play for a king, that is something a bard should always do.
Of course. And I would have no gripe against that. I believe you should talk to Elamar about this, as he is the gatekeeper. Any meetings in the High Guard. If you have his approval, I have no gripe against it.
through Elamar, we're already visiting the king in 2 days.
Well, he is in charge of the King's Guard. And I would hate for you to go in and do something that would paint me in a bad light. You must understand, good Xander, that the king is of high importance to this town, and with such, there's a lot of processes that must be in place before a meeting would take place. We can't just run any such bard off of the street and straight into the king's chambers.
Well, ma'am, if you have met any bards, you surely know that they value their hide above all others.
Indeed.
And why indeed would I risk my hide in a castle full of pointy things and spelly things that could definitely end my hide?
Let's just be blunt, Xander. You would not potentially be the first assassin that comes this way, garnishing an instrument.
Do tell.
So,
No, seriously, do tell. I would love to hear this story.
well, in Irmar's 800 and some odd years, there's been political yips and political yays, especially when it comes to the decision he made to stop mining the center of this land. With that,
yes.
political turmoil. Those were in his younger days of his 400th year. But with that, the dwarves who came seeking profit did not give up lightly. And they figured without him as a hurdle in the way, they could continue mining. Well, with that came several attempts at his life.
Contracted hits. Or
Where-
just citizens rising up.
Where there is money to be gained, there are people willing to be hired in order to remove any roadblocks of that monetary gain. Far out of this land, but hits nonetheless. We have captured all of those gentlemen in their day and put them to the gallows.
As you should. It's Aramar, right? King
Irmar.
Aramar. Has there been an assassination attempt as of lately?
Not in the past 80 to 100 years.
Hmm.
And we'd
Very
like
good.
to keep it that way.
Do what?
And we'd like to keep it that way, wouldn't we, Xander?
Very much so. I have no desire to kill a king. Nothing that high. So, you say a jiggrass that I could find in the eastern swamplands. I've traversed there before. It is a pain. It's very marshy, very wet. I did not care for it, but I was able to keep myself clean. Are they common or are they fairly elusive?
Well, if you're looking for them, I think I have something here I would send with the hunting parties. She starts looking through a trunk of sorts, leading you through a bit of stone and marble cavern into the base of this beautiful courtyard of the building itself. There's the garden out back in which you had spent some time before. This courtyard is light shining within an open air environment. There are plants and things growing, but also some trunks that are sheltered from the weather and open sky if it were to rain. And a trunk is opened. And she says, I think I have some bait here somewhere. With this, you are bound to find one within a 24-hour period. And she starts looking around and goes, yes, and pulls out a very large vial. Very triangular, large vial with a cork stop on the top. Poop, opens it up, and you hear, you almost hear the smell. It is so pungent. It fills your nostrils and your ears with this suffocating smell of rotting bog. That is not unfamiliar with what you had smelled walking through the bog, but this is especially pungent. She puts the cork back on and says, well, Xander, with this giant bit of bait, you set and you wait. And if you have any strong men in your party, I anticipate them to be at ready. For when one of these creatures comes by, of about 10 to 12 feet in height on average, they're hungry and will flail and swing looking for the smell that this produces. It puts them in a bit of a hungry, horny state. I'm not too familiar with what their life cycle entails, but it does something to them. And they come running with clubs flailing. And at that point, you have your subject.
Yes. Now, one of these levers will make how many of these potions?
One of these levers would make one potion.
That seems like a waste of ingredients for a 12-foot creature. Can't dilute it down a little bit?
Well, it's the essence of this liver that must be melted. I'm sure there are probably other uses for a creature of that stature.
Is there any other parts of this creature that I could perhaps harvest in the process?
Well, let me look through a book.
I would hate to go for just one liver. If perhaps you could use the heart or the lungs or the snout or perhaps a lucky foot.
Ha! I'm sure there is something else useful. She's flipping page over page over page. Dragon scales, sick door, tails. I'm sure it is here somewhere. Give me a moment.
And while she's doing this, I'll just look around the area and peruse her office or her shop, or not shop. I know she doesn't have a shop, but you have very interesting things. Some of these potions look really neat.
You see purple ones, you see green ones, you see ones with small animal fetuses contained within. You see some with plants, with the live leaves of which that seem to be growing against the glass, where you can't even see the liquid except for the few bubbles that are in between the plant leaves and the glass in which it's contained. And then as you are meandering, you hear, aha! The heart, the blood, and the flesh are all useful of this creature. If you can harvest any bit of any of those, bring it back and we can make use. The blood has been widely used for the basis of a healing potion of some sort. And you are indeed true. It can be diluted repeatedly and still deliver some sort of a healing effect if concocted accurately. The heart is one of a few organs besides the liver that is used to worship another deity. And is one of the only organs that will not form a new Gigraz over time. And yet it is the thing that pumps the blood, gives it the regenerative ability of a Gigraz. The heart can be used to form an amulet of sorts. I think I know a gentleman who could craft such a thing if we are given the heart in a pristine condition. As long as it is pumping swamp water in and out of its ventricles, it will stay alive, even without a body.
That is amazing. That is probably worth the trip altogether.
Indeed, indeed. And the flesh itself is worth about 5 silver pieces a pound.
And what is the flesh used for?
Well, the taste leaves much to be desired, but Gigraz flesh is indeed nutritious and can be a very suitable source of sustenance. It is, however, not recommended to be used as a long-term food option, as repeated consumption of such can lead to strange effects in that who eats it. A pound of this flesh consumed would fulfill any food requirement for an adventurer for an entire day.
A pound.
A pound.
Well,
But
a pound of anything would fill an adventurer for an whole day.
now the bane of such is if you eat 3 pounds of Gigraz flesh within a time frame of 7 days, it might fuck with your constitution a bit and undergo strange mutations in the consumer. So, though it would fill you up, it is not advised to make a feast out of it.
Does it keep?
It keeps, and you will find it also regenerates amongst itself, unless left in open air. You must keep it in an airtight container, and it will fill that container, hence stop its regeneration.
How long would the regeneration take?
It seems to be a roll of the dice of nature, if you will. As she looks at the plants, she's meandering her hands through. Given the right nutrients, light, open air, it regenerates into a whole nother Gigraz in a few days to a week. But rest assured, we do not operate ourselves in the moral demise of farming such a creature just for its flesh here in the Temple of Celestia.
I do understand. But you are saying that any part of this creature will regenerate over time
Indeed.
into another one.
Given enough time, it has been known to happen.
Is there a way to keep it from happening? Set it on fire?
Place it in an airtight container is all that I have here in this book, though.
Freeze it, perhaps?
She flips a few pages. Freezing might do something. Fire might also do something. Acid might also do something. The data that has been captured in this book is unclear. This is only more about harvesting its components and what it's used for than to stop it from regrowing. Though that would be a nice addition to this book. If you come across such information in your endeavors, I will put a blank space here to be filled out with what you find, and I would be willing to wager this content is worth about 120 gold. Though I will have to check with my groundskeeper who manages the content of this book. But I think about 120 gold pieces if you come delivering what it is that would stop this creature from regenerating. In your quest, of course. Does that make sense? Yes.
Now, do you have perhaps a need for this blood and heart?
I'm sure throughout Ironton we could find a buyer for such components.
So let me propose this to you. If I can provide you with the blood and the heart and a liver, you can create us 2 potions and keep whatever else.
With the heart, with the liver, and with the blood, I could create health potions for you for sure, but only a single potion that would cure your ailment. If you came across 2 such creatures with 2 such livers, I could create 2, and the creation of such would more than enough be paid for by the other components in which you deliver to me. And I might even send you on your way with 4 or 5 health potions as well, with the blood that you deliver from 2 creatures.
Yes. Well, I do not feel that this is something I can handle on my own. So
Nor is it recommended to do so.
I will definitely have to speak with my companions to see if they are willing to take this quest, although you were the only one that we were referred to. So it appears that this is our only means to rid ourselves of this ailment. I'm not the only one. So we would need at least 2.
How many of your party is infected with such a disease?
I believe 2.
Indeed.
Myself and a half-orc fella.
Yes, this disease of necropathy is not a light one.
And if I was able to go back and ask the elf who shot us with this dart where he came by it, perhaps I could give you an answer as to where this poison came from. However, that gentleman is no longer around.
That is probably a justice well served to more than just you.
Agreed. I wish his daughter, or at least she thought of him as a father, but he was really a terrible person. Did you happen to know Solomon?
Solomon?
Gentleman wore a mask.
I heard his name thrown around quite a bit with the aristocrats of the town. Are you suggesting that he was the deliverer of such necropathy into your veins?
Not just mine, but my companions as well. He was also responsible for slicing his wrists, chaining him to a tree, and leaving him for dead to the wolves.
Well, you now once again go out of the scope of which I have authority, but that sounds to me to be something of a weight of justice should be delivered onto such a man if it hasn't already. Elamar would surely be interested to hear such tales, as I'm sure King Irmar would as well, as he does fraternize with the aristocrats of this town.
Yes, and we do know which aristocrat he fraternized with.
Now I am trying hard not to be too curious, as curiosity has killed the warlord. But would you share some details with me if I promise not to tell?
Well, as the king has once been assassinated or had attempted assassination on him, I would hate to assassinate our information before it's given. So
I shall squash my curiosity right from which it came and stuff it back in. But if you ever decide to come spread rumors, my ears are open.
see, rumors are what I do not want to spread. What I would like to is cure my ailment.
Indeed, indeed.
So, I do appreciate everything you've done for us, old lady whose name is too wonderful to pronounce.
She blushes. Yes, you really do have two courses of action. One is to find a Gigraz liver or two. The other is to have some conversation with the king, and given his anointment, I will sacrifice a cast or 2 days worth of a massive heal, which should rid you of this necropathy. Of course, only given the thumbs up from King Irmar himself.
I understand. I would definitely hate to take away anything from the king, as that is not my intent. We are here only to serve.
Especially before he finds his true heir. I believe that is what he is holding on to.
His true heir? Do tell. This is a story I have not heard.
Maybe over drinks. Meet me in the Black Stag in an hour.
The Black Stag. Is that where I left the other two?
That is.
Perhaps a different bar.
Yes.
One not quite so well known. I have an inkling to play, and I would like to play for a good crowd, but not a crowd that would typically get to hear such wonderful music.
Yes, I think the waterlogged duck. Provides a nice meal as well. If you purchase the meal, I am sure my lips will be well lubricated to give you all of the gossip going around. Of course, we shall find a quiet corner where no one will know I told you any of this. But
He grabs her hand quickly and says, "Ma'am, there is nothing I want more from you than a well lubricated lip."
She smiles, chuckles, winks, and does all that a very attractive woman would do in your.
And I picture Conan rolling his eyes in the background, like, "Oh God."
A trick not taught, but he does know.
Oh God.
All right, and that being said, this is a perfect time for a break for us to, well, for me to gather my notes, and then we shall continue such an adventure at the Waterlogged Duck in 1 hour's time.
All right, so we'll say it's about, 7 o'clock or so now?
Seems reasonable.
So if I'm going to meet her at 8, that gives me an hour to go try to find a music shop open.
Mm-hmm.
I still need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I will ask her if there is one nearby of a reputable shop.
She says that she hears people busking around a certain alleyway of the eclectic, they call it the eclectic cave.
Cave? Got it?
Between two pillars that seem to be separated in a promiscuous manner is the entryway to such an alleyway that produces some of the best music all heard throughout Ironton. The entrance of which is a really loud noise coming from your end. Okay. And the entryway of which is a magnificent music shop called Tittle's Tones. Here you will find not only two, but all of the tones across of the different registers.
It sounds like a wonderful shop to go to. I will meet you. Is 8:30 too late?
8:30 would work for me.
Very well. I will see you, my lady, in an hour and a half.
All right.
And I'm going to head right away to Tittle's Tones.
All right, you're walking through the different caves and the different not caves, the different alleyways. And as you approach, you start hearing better music, busking from different performers on the street, luring different types of crowds. The 4 people here, 8 to 10 people on a multiple person performance, knowing good and well that you could probably draw a much bigger crowd yourself. Now that is where we're going to take a quick break because I got to do some homework and make some of this shit up.
I like you doing it on the fly, man.
Yeah. I can only come up with so many tittles tones until I have to actually come up with something for real. And I also might need another beverage. So I will sit here and scribble for about 5 minutes and we will resume.
Very good. I will throw up this because it is Xander and Conan's Adventures. And I will play a nice tune while we wait.
Of course. I'll be back. Welcome back to Shoreshack Adventures. I hope you enjoyed the break. You know we sure did. Making Tittle's tones and some other gossip about Earmar. All seems to be straight now. Xander, as you're walking through the busking center of Ironton, you come across Tittle's tones. And here you see a very interesting cave of adobe-like building with different instruments and strings kind of strung along the outside signage of it. Tittle's is a separate sign than the word tones, separate font, separate piece of wood, everything. It comes a bit thrown together and eclectic. As you walk in, you see a very small gnome who jumps up on a stool and goes, "Hello, welcome to my tones. I'm Tittle. I've got all of the instruments that would strike your fancy. What is it that I can do for you, good sir?"
Well, Mr. Tittle, I am looking to acquire a lute.
The lute. Well,
A
have-
lute. Yes.
I have a lute. I have drums. I have lyres. I've got pan flutes.
I need a lute that more resembles the lute that I carry. And he'll take the lute out from underneath his cloak and show him his lute, show him Sonia, and say, "I'm looking for a lute that closely resembles this."
Ah, such a fine lute. Let me examine it. And comes over and begins looking and tinkering.
No. Do not touch, please.
Oh, a musician is in good caring of his instrument. Okay.
I just need something that looks like this.
Go ahead and describe what Sonia looks like.
Well, she is a red lute, like a red wood. I would not say she is extremely ornate, but she is, very polished and very beautiful. Very well made. But I wouldn't necessarily say gold, but probably brass. That's more of a instrument metal. And a well-made, maybe some, mother of pearl inlay in the frets, but nothing overly gaudy, but just a very beautiful instrument.
He goes, as he's backing up, he goes, "Oh, okay, but what I can tell is that's a very well-made lute indeed. Would you like one that's equal quality? We have a few fashion.
Really, I just require something that looks of equal quality."
Okay. So maybe it'll help if you told me your intention for such a device. I'm trying to understand how you are going to use it, considering you have such a nice lute already.
Well, let's say this way. This is a beautiful instrument. Perhaps if I feared it was going to be stolen from me, I wanted a copycat in its place.
Ah, indeed.
Something that I could lock this one away, and the thief would then take the wrong instrument.
Indeed. Come with me. And he begins walking away and then starts to move his different instruments around, Drum of bass, the lyre of nobles. Let's see. Here we go. This is an old dusty redwood. He begins to dust it off. Holds it up to your lute. It's a lot bigger. It's just a lot bigger of a lute. He holds it, but the color scheme seems to match. We'll dust this off. This in no way is magical like any of our other instruments, but I think with the right paint job, we could do something. How about you leave your lute with me, and then I will go get the painter to come in and do an exact copy. And he's pretty good at recommissioning certain old works of art and bringing copycats to new. Of course, he's just the painter, so it won't perform, but it sounds like that's fine by you.
It is fine that it doesn't perform. So let's make some notes, or perhaps I can draw out what I want done because I cannot leave this here.
Oh, well, you can trust me. If we have
It's not a matter of trust. I just cannot leave it.
Okay, understood. Let's Jekyll up! Come here! Take a look at this. And then a tall, very slender humanoid guy, human guy comes out, and he's kind of lanky in his walk and appearance. Oh, well, am I going to try to paint that like that? Yes, indeed you are. Well, okay. It'll take about 2 hours if it's on Rush. And we'll sell you the whole thing. It's not a good quality loot, you know?
I do know that. I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm sure that loot is probably not even worth 5 gold.
No, I was going to say 2.
I was correct.
Okay. Nice to meet you. And he just starts walking back with the old.
So you're saying the loot is worth 2 gold?
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, the loot is totally, but the paint job is going to be worth a little bit more. Let's say, probably.
No. I was merely saying that I thought the loot was worth that. I mean, of course, a fabulous painter of this quality, it's going to require a little bit more.
Yes, of course.
I mean, we're looking 10, 15 gold.
Of course, that's what I was going to say. I mean, he is a magical man himself, the way he paints.
And I'm sure for
12 gold is, I think, what is a reasonable price for what we're asking here.
So you're saying that for 12 gold, I could have this in an hour and a half?
Yes, I think you can.
And you'll stay open so that I can come back and get it.
Yep. 12 gold. I mean, we are a good business that is looking out for our customer.
That sounds like a deal. Here's what I need. I need it cleaned, polished, painted up to look exactly like this one. And I will be back in 2 hours to pick it up.
Okay. And he's very nice and smiley, like kind of get you out the door type thing. Yep, we'll see you in 2 hours.
2 hours time.
All right, bye. He shuts the door close sign goes, and he goes running into the back, and you just hear him screaming like, "We got to do this on Rush! This has got to be a fast job! He's going to be back in 2 hours. We got 12 gold later on this. Work! Work! Call your brother. Call your cousin. We got to get this thing done."
All right, so I should have enough time. So I'm going to go ahead and make my way to the waterlogged dock. Before she gets there,
Ooh. So you make your way. It's a kind of a high-end bougie bar, if you will. Like imagine like a nightclub feeling bar, but one of those ones that just have like low light, very modern seating, glass chandelier type dealios, something along the lines of that. Serving hors d'oeuvres and things like this as you walk in. There's just somebody kind of walking around giving morsels of food as well as waters.
and how many people are in said bar?
I'd say about 8. It seats about 30 comfortably.
And there's about 8 in there now,
Yep. About
including
8.
staff.
No, staff would probably be another 6 people that you can see. Not to mention the kitchen.
Okay, so there is obviously a bar, or perhaps I'm going to walk up to the bar and say, "Barkeep, may I speak to the manager, please?"
Aye. And she just turns around and walks out. Coming back is a well-dressed gentleman. Hello.
Hello, sir.
My manager, Duncan. What can I do for you?
Duncan, it is a pleasure. Xander Redinax, performer extraordinaire, and I am here to offer you my services for free, sir. If you will just allow me to play for your patrons, perhaps I could bring a few more people in and perhaps get this place hopping for the night. Is that all right with you?
He looks down. He looks at the sundial and then realizes, our entertainment should have been here already. What? Could you play something upscale?
What would you have me play? Would you like slow? Would you like fast?
I'm going to say something like Dragon's Tonic, but with a little bit of a poof.
And he'll begin playing a tune and see if he...
Ah, yeah. An oldie but a goodie. And he lets you carry on. He lets you go and continue playing if you would like to.
He will, and he will walk among the tables, playing and meandering towards the front of the establishment so that people can see through the windows that he's flourishing and playing, and he will play extra loud, informing Sonia that we need to bump the volume so that the people outside can hear.
Okay. How are you walking around? Describe the showman aspect of this to me.
Oh, he will walk up to the tables and flourish by them, and of course play around the ladies, nodding to the gentlemen that whoever they're with, that I'm here to help, not here to steal them.
Aha. As you're playing for, the next 10, 15 minutes, the windows of this place are actually open to allow air to go through, so it doesn't get that boggy kind of bar smell to it. Because of that, people outside can definitely hear your brilliant performance. Roll me a d20, sir.
That is a 4.
So it seems that the streets are rather busy, and though you get a few people looking in the window, not many people stop in. You
Did
can
you say to roll a performance or just a straight D20?
just a straight d20.
Oh, okay.
About 4 or so people manage to walk in and grab a table, a party to themselves. They're here for you for sure, but only 4.
So what's that take the total to,
About 10.
including staff?
Let's see. Well, there was 8 plus 2. There's 12 plus 6 staff, so it'd be 18 total.
And people outside, anybody stop to listen?
Only those 4.
Well, they came inside. Is there perhaps?
Roll me a performance check.
22.
Ooh, you sucker. All right, you got 2 through the window. That puts you at a grand total of 20.
All right. So I would like to make my check for my loot of what?
All right. What is the check that you have to make? I'm assuming you have that in front of you.
It is a DC 18.
Well, I think you just made your 22.
So that is what I just made with an audience of 20 plus. Thank you, sir. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you very much.
So you needed a standing ovation. You got the DC. It's tough because I gave you the extra 2 people because of the performance check.
So I can roll it again.
I think we should.
And if I don't make it, I'm fine with that.
Fair.
But I rolled another 22.
Amen. Well done. And then the bartender starts clapping. You even hear clapping in the kitchen, even though you can't see them. The people in the window are clapping. The people standing around you stand up and go, "Well done, Redanax, Redanax, Redanax," which is a little bit out of character of the establishment you're in. Just then, walks in from the Temple of Celesti and goes, "Wow, Redanax, I did not imagine you'd be that good of a player."
Well, I didn't say I was completely untalented. I do have my skills.
Ah,
But you did say you wanted a quiet corner, so I didn't write his name down. Daggone it. I didn't write the manager's name. May myself and the lady have a seat?
indeed. Come right this way. He has a nice VIP section that's away, though also away, but also like in a place of people can see you. You know, it's like that the window seat on a nice establishment. They can't hear you. You're away, but you're definitely on display as a VIP up there. If that makes sense.
It does. And I say, "Excuse me, madam, for just one moment." And I'll walk over to the door and be like, "It will only be a second, and he'll be right with me. Come on." And I'll lead him up, and he'll sit in front of the table where we're at to just make sure nobody gets too close
Okay.
and just lay on the floor at the feet.
Yep. And as peculiar as that might seem to be for us, that's not entirely peculiar in Ironton. Though in this high-end establishment, it's a little out of place. But with the barding and looking in himself very put together, Conan has a nice place. And people watch him just as they watch you.
They're like, oh, a show. Isn't that interesting?
So she goes ahead and sits down and would you like a drink? And she does one of these and gets beverages brought to the table. They have Shoreshackian rum, which she purchases for herself. Would you like one?
I don't usually drink, but I'll have one.
Okay. And she gets you a glass as well.
I have seen what alcohol can do. Now, what is she exactly? Is she an elf? Is she a human?
I don't have this in front of me. I want to say half elf. She's either a human or a half elf. And judging by the background and everything, I'm gonna go human. Yeah.
Okay.
Elves are rather rare in this island altogether. You are in yourself a very rare sight, and people look at you and linger their eyes on you a little bit longer than they do an average bard walking by.
So your name, it's just so, it's a beautiful name, but perhaps I could call you something different.
For now.
For now, you look like a rose. Or that's what I
That's my favorite flower.
You are definitely a rose to me.
Oh, Xander, quit your flirting.
And now we were going to speak of some gossip, weren't we?
Oh, yes. You always pull the worst out of me. Xander, I feel like I've known you for so long. It's amazing that we just met a few hours ago. No, I shouldn't be telling you any of this.
You probably shouldn't. However, if you tell me yours, I'll tell you mine.
Well, what is it that you will tell me?
Exactly what you wanted to know earlier.
Oh. Remind me.
Who is it that Solomon worked for?
Oh, yes. Gossip for gossip. Well, I will say that you did give us a nice table for such an affair. And your good canine friend is a welcomed addition. He won't tell our secrets, will he?
Not unless I ask him to.
Ha ha ha. He looks impressed in all the things that a girl does. Well, you see, King Irmar, rather old in his age, is not quite willing to let go of the throne as of yet. He has 3 sons. Graor, his oldest, is the natural selection for the next to the throne. He's almost 400 years old himself and has dedicated his whole life to the king and to Ironton. But has probably dedicated too much time to where He hasn't found a wife yet. What kind of ruler would Graor be without a mate? For then who would take the crown after he were to expire? Fendel. Fendel is the second son. He pledges allegiance to Graor completely, but is a bit of an outsider of sorts. Very tactical dwarf who's about half of Graor's age. He's, of course, known for the Dwark Treaty.
The what?
The Dwark Treaty? Oh, Xander, tell me you've heard of the Dwark Treaty.
Well, darling, I am fairly new to this island.
Well, Fendel was known for bringing a treaty back down into... This goes way back into the Battle of Mythical Peak, when the orcs and those in Ironton were trying to dig into the center of this island. At some point, there had to have been a treaty to pull us both away from fighting for the same entrance into the caverns in the center of this island. And Mithril was the final front. But Fendel was able to go into Orc territory out west and strike up a treaty between the town of Ironton and them, so that neither party would ever pierce the central caverns of this beautiful island that you are on today. That is also the treaty that turned us against from our mining operations and now into a fishing village. And then we have City.
Hold on a second. All right, what's his name? City? City?
Yes, City. City.
C-I-T-I.
City Ram. He's the pipsqueak. Absolutely infatuated with Gabriella. And the youngest brother, barely even 40 years of age. Though he thinks he himself probably deserves it all. It's a bit of a frustration to Irmar's side, as the youngest often are. Now, the quagmire that Irmar is in is, how can he find Graur a wife fast enough to take the throne?
That is quite the challenge. Is he not an attractive dwarf?
He is attractive and ambitious, but he's a horse with blinders. You only see the good he can do for Ironton, and not for himself.
Or perhaps he has no desire for a mare.
Precisely.
He would rather be with the army and the military men than
That is him by nature. I have tried my hand at him once or twice, and have never been more cold-shouldered in my life. Even in my most dazzling attire.
What about Findle? Is Findle the ladies' man?
Fendel is a quiet man, though I've heard rumors of him with various ladies.
But never so much of a rumor with Growler.
No, Graor is very. I have not heard of him.
Oh.
He had a girlfriend at a young age, but it took to a tragic ending.
At a young age, yeah, that would have been 300 and some years ago.
Indeed.
That's a long time to remain heartbroken.
Yes,
If
you'd have to think
heartbroken
in.
is.
What was that?
If he is heartbroken from it.
Indeed, if he is. I'm not entirely sure how to read him.
Hmm. Well, you have definitely provided me with some interesting information to ponder. And definitely something that I can think about before my visit with the king. And perhaps I can meet with his sons as well.
Hmm.
Maybe Growlor just needs a little help finding the right someone.
Indeed. And then she winks at you. She reaches her hand out to a glass and spins it. And the pointy end lands on you. And she goes, "So, Xander, what about your gossip?"
You mean this devil named Solomon?
Go on.
Well, you see, I began working with when I came into the gentleman that I ended up party or becoming a party to
Mm-hmm.
were already being tracked by this predator type shadow. He would be there and then he would be gone. He would stalk them and stalk them, no matter where they went. This shadow was always following. Sometimes it would strike, sometimes it would watch. It was like a devil in the trees. At one point, it took one of their lives. And that was long before I joined them, and I am merely recapping a tale that I was once told.
Hmm.
When I came along, I didn't know any of this existed. But nor did I know that this gentleman was following them. However, while camped one night, my good boy Conan here heard something entering our camp and gave chase. I followed after him. Conan nearly died in the explosion of pursuit. And
Oh no!
he was hurt badly. I was able to save his life. But while I was in turn trying to find the culprit, I was struck with a dart
Hmm.
and a crossbow bolt, and I was nearly wiped out at that moment. It was the closest I've been to death.
Hmm.
And we retreated and ran as fast as we could, healed up, and then one of our friends went missing. While the others looked another way, I was able to track him with Conan. We went miles, it seemed, until we found him tied to a tree. He had obviously gone out just on a stroll with his dog companion himself. It's it's hard to recall, but when I found him, his wrist slit, his lifeless body there bleeding out, the tree, the ground covered in blood, the wolves closing in. I sent Conan back for help and left myself there all alone. I healed him as best I could. I fended off the wolves, more tricked them than
Hmm.
anything else. I was no match for four wolves.
Hmm.
But I saved my companion's life. And that was worth something. However, the next night this creature returned to finish the job.
Hmm.
He stabbed me in the gut, but as he was making his getaway, I was able to get up enough strength to tackle him to the ground, giving the other party members enough time to pile on top of him. And with our combined strength, we were able to disarm him, disrobe him, and unmask the culprit. As I said before, his name was Solomon. Solomon had a letter on him that detailed that he worked for Julian Meir,
Hmm.
Gabriella's father, and that he was indeed hired to kill my fellow party members. I was unknown and merely just another person on this that he came across, and probably why he spared my life. And I was just an inconvenience, but I was not something he was going to get paid to take care of. So why waste the time? That, I'm happy to say, became his downfall.
She begins to kind of clap with the story. You being a bard, giving the story a little bit more embellishment. Not that it needed any. Solomon, an assassin,
Indeed.
does make sense. He's always worked for or with Julian to some degree, and Gloria, the diplomat and emissary to Alabast here in Ironton, they had a close relationship, as I understand it.
Indeed. And as you said before, assassins have gotten very close to the king.
Hmm. And you say he is no longer in this realm.
Unless he can fight off the very poison that he put in me.
And that's
For
what you're
the
doing?
he poisoned me with, I shoved into his leg and sealed it there.
So it was your doing.
It was. I am uncertain whether I slit his throat after that or not. but I do know he is no longer on this world.
How intriguing.
You would think that I would be proud of this, although I believe my emotions got the best of me at the time.
Hmm.
We were in a rush. We were in a hurry, and we couldn't take a prisoner. You've got to understand, I didn't want completely to do that. But we had to get here in a certain amount of time. We only had a day and a half
Till what?
to get to the ball.
Oh. Her eyes kind of grow a little bit bigger.
It was a day and a half before the ball when all this transpired. We found two things on him. We found tickets to the ball, and we found a note from Julian to him. When my party members were killed, that he was to be awarded Gabriella as a prize. What angered me was that her own father would give her away to someone as a prize for murder.
Indeed. The politics are sharp in Alabasta and impersonal.
Now, did I tell you more than I probably should have? Yes, but I like you, Rose. Perhaps you may have a few thorns, but thorns are to be plucked. Your petals are delightful, and I believe that you will stay as a bud with this information and not sprout it to the world.
Yes, it's not the season of bloom quite yet, Xander.
Ooh, that is even better than me. You have menstrual blood in you. And if not, you soon will.
So she kind of she blushes and does her whole taken back thing when you gave her all the compliment. She gets a little nervous. Gains her composure. Says, I probably have said far too much as well. Xander, man who I had just met this evening for the very first time and spilled way too much.
Rose, who I just met this evening, and I've done the same.
Adieu, Xander. We will talk once more. I am sure of that.
And perhaps the next time, if you cannot touch me to heal me, there may be other ways.
You see her turn and walk away, and as you see you see it hit her, where her mind finally wraps around about what you said, like as she's walking away, and you can see her from behind start to laugh and giggle. But she doesn't turn around or anything like that. She just continues walking. So you're in the bar. You have gotten some interesting information, divulged some interesting information. You're there with Conan and Sonia. Your full party. The full party.
And whatever food that we have ordered, because I'm sure we had dinner. I will feed Conan whatever I can, whatever scraps of meat are left, whatever bones there are for him to gnaw on.
Mm-mm.
And I will sit back, not take out Sonia now, but just take out the flute
Oh, yes.
and play the flute while sitting in the corner booth and wait the required couple hours to go pick up my new lute.
Mm-hmm. Then you sit there and admire the crowd, diplomats coming in, various other people. You do hear the words two tones dropped on occasion, though with your passive perception, not able to pick up anything more than he's a subject matter of some sort of a conversation.
Can I ascertain where that came from?
You give me a perception roll.
Let me give you that roll of perception. I cannot, as it was a 6.
You can tell it's coming from the crowd of people and not the empty tables. It was a woman's voice, though you're unable to ascertain which woman it could be. These are all aristocratic types, obviously just gossiping in general.
But I do know the two tones that Tommy would play, correct?
I would say so.
So I will sit in my booth and play those two tones over and over.
Give me another perception roll. Well played.
A 14. And look for someone who looks over that way.
Yes. You see a group of 3 ladies, probably mid-40s, look over and kind of point at you, start talking to themselves.
Are these mid-40 dwarfs?
Yes, dwarven women.
So
Aristocratic with
fairly young dwarfs.
Yeah. Dwarven wise, yeah.
Facial hair females or not?
No, let's just not go there.
Okay, good. Oh, good.
Just only out of the nose, you know. One of the ladies starts to walk up to you.
And I'll reach down to Conan and say, "It's okay."
And then she's kind of curling her hair a little bit and looks up and gathers herself proper and says, "We were just talking about Tommy Two Tones and his magnificent performance of those very two tones that you were just playing."
I, too, am a fan of the two tones. Would you care to have a seat? Join me.
"No, but may I have your name? For we have a party and we are looking for entertainment, and we cannot seem to track the two tones down, who is the obvious choice with his magnificence."
My name is Xander. Xander Rednecks.
Xander.
If you do find Tommy, please let him know that I would love a rematch.
Oh, like a dueling fiddles.
As such, I'm not going to say I lost last time, but I do believe that he would like another try to best me.
And then she says, "That would be amazing entertainment." And you see her other two girls that she's talking with, like, and said, "Indeed, Rednecks, I will hopefully set this up."
However, if you are looking for entertainment for your party, would you rather have the one who defeated Two Tones, or would you rather have Two Tones?
Honestly, we'd like to see the battle all over again.
As would I.
We will talk once
Great
more.
man. But I haven't seen him in days, not since the ball.
Oh, yes. What an embarrassment.
Were you there, young miss? It doesn't seem like your mother would let you out that late.
I am a full-grown woman, though young. And no, I wasn't there. I was busy with other things, though I have heard the rumors.
Well,
My name is Cece.
excuse me, ma'am. What was that?
My name is Cece.
Cece. A lovely name for a lovely woman.
Now, if we are to get the funding to have you accompany our party here for my brother's wedding, how would it be that we were to contact you?
Let me look up what place I'm staying at. Because I'm staying at a place somewhere in this town. Yes.
Nuts, sir.
I am staying at the Horny Toad.
And then she looks back at her friends. She looks back at you like,
Did we move to a bigger one? We moved to a better place. I think we moved out of the whorehouse and went to a better place.
well, you were at Elamar's guest house there for a night.
For a night, yeah. So now we're back at the Horny Toad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, how about we meet back here at some point?
I would not even dream of you coming into the Horny Toad. And honestly, we're only there because my companion was too cheap to spring for anything else. So now that we're about to come into a little bit of money for, well, I don't want to brag, but saving the city, then perhaps I'll be able to move into a better establishment. Perhaps you have one in mind.
The Well Done Cuff is a nice place.
The Well Done Cuff?
Indeed. It's a little bit outside of the ritzy area, but right on the edge.
Recommends the Well Done Cuff.
So will you be staying there? Could I just go to the bellhop and get your attention next week?
Next week should be fine. We should be moved in there by then. Now, how far away is this? You said your brother's wedding?
Indeed.
And when is your brother's wedding?
In 2 weeks' time. The same place that the ball was being done.
Brother's wedding in 2 weeks' time. I am, like any other bard, just a leaf in the wind. I hope to be here in 2 weeks for such an event, but it is not known at this time as to whether that will be. But what perhaps are you looking for exactly, and what exactly are you looking to pay for such an event?
Well,
For entertainment the likes that your patrons have never seen. Entertainment that you will be known for forever.
Persuasion check.
Ah, finally. 26.
Jesus. Well, if you can promise that my name is sprung around the city for the following few days, 50 gold is easily done.
50 gold is easily done for anyone, not for someone who's going to make your name well known throughout the entire town.
Well, then, what would your rate be?
My rate, dear madam, for what I plan to give you would be double that.
She kind of scoffs and looks back over her friends who are on the edge of their seat listening to everything that's going on. Looks back at her. We will see.
And as he sits there, he pulls out his flute and kicks back and says, "Perhaps a demonstration." And says, "I'm feeling something fun." And just begins playing with Sonia in the background. You may sing along if you'd like.
It's very peculiar the percussion that you are doing with your flute.
And
Performance check.
and he will cause wind to blow through her hair.
Of course.
Come on, you son of a 13.
She has just had the most intense musical experience that she's had in her 40 years. And she says, indeed, if you are here.
If I am here, and of course, if Two Tones has not shown to take my spot, I will gladly give my seat up for the hometown hero.
How noble of you.
Indeed. For I am not here to step on someone's turf. I do realize that Ironton is Tommy Two Tones' turf. And I actually felt really bad about what I did at that ball. I regret it. And I look forward to the time when I'm able to apologize to him in person.
She goes, don't regret anything. You have been the talk of the town since. And then gives you a wink.
Another regret.
And she goes along her merry way. You do whatever it is that you do. Getting your loot as you go back. It is, in fact, complete. The shop is closed, but with a quick knock and a bunch of bustling, a lot of screaming, you're handed a loot. It looks peculiarly like your loot, except just 1.5 times larger. And now you have that in your possession.
Okay.
Go
now,
ahead. Mark off your 12 gold for that.
12 gold. 12 gold getting marked off. All right, so I needed to add 50.
You got the 50 from Show?
From
you got it from
Super. And then remove 12. And then I will spend whatever time I need to before I retire tuning the new loot as best as is able.
Yes. And I think you're able to do that. You are performance. You have proficiency in performance, I'm assuming.
Yes, and it's expertise and performance.
Beautiful. So yeah, you're able to do that without issue.
And while the other ones are at the at Elamar's, I myself will retire back to the
Horny Toad.
Horny Toad and go ahead and begin my rest.
All right. And
Because I have a meeting tomorrow at noon.
Yep, indeed you do. Siddle and Cecil are longing for that meeting. And we will pick up then on the next episode of Shoreshack Adventure.